Hello YouTube. So today I'm making a video about the Boers of South Africa, or the white South Africa, and the farmers issue going on there. And I was supposed to make this video a while ago, but I haven't had the chance or the time to do it. So I'm happy I got to do it today, regardless of whatever is going on. So I'll jump straight into it, and I don't want it to be more than 10 minutes, so I have to start immediately. Okay, so first of all, I would like to start by saying that my prayers are with South Africa and South Africans, because I think South Africa has really uninformed, uh, easily manipulated, will I add, bloodthirsty, poor rural dwellers. Why do I say this? Because first of all, this was the killings of Nigerians, because the claim was that they sell drugs. That then it became the killings of black non-South Africans who are residents in South Africa, either because they are illegal migrants or because they are taking the jobs that South Africans are supposed to do. Then now it is the killing of the Boers because they took their farmlands or something like that. So who knows what's next? What will be the next reason for killing the next group of people? So really, my prayers are with them, and your prayers should be with them as well. So I'm thinking to myself, what will it take for South Africa to realize that not everybody that looks different from you, not everybody that comes from a different country is your enemy, and not everyone that's from your community has your best interest at heart, whether they are leaders, elders, youths, and especially those politicians, because I've seen a lot of videos where the political aspirants are saying certain things, trying to change certain people's opinions about certain people. It's just the same thing with what's going on in USA with Trump and the rest. We'll build a wall, we'll lock this person up, we'll do that, we'll do that. Most of the things they say they can't do them, they will not do them because they are wrong, they are illegal, there are a lot of red tapes preventing them from doing all those things. We'll kill certain people, kill these people, kill that people. They can't make most of those claims cannot be made, but they cannot bring them to fruition. So the reason they are putting forward that kind of image, that kind of agenda, is for their own selfish interest, because they know that those certain people in that certain segment of society have little influence or do not even vote. They do not have voting power. So what they do is try to paint the people who have voting power as good, and those people who have no voting power or are of no use to them as bad. So the people who are bigger, who have the voting power and who can make decisions that will put them in position of power, they make those people hate the other people, and then make those people the enemies, get these people support, and get to where they want, and then basically forget about you. It has happened before, it will happen again, it's still happening now. So without going too far, let's dive into the main issue. So first of all, in looking at their claims or in looking at what's going on, we have to look at I think we have to look at two issues. Are those people citizens of South Africa? That's one. And how did they get the property or the land they have? That's two. So first of all, how does one claim citizenship in South Africa? It is through birth. If you're born in South Africa before 1995, I think 6th October, 6th October, I think. So if one of your parents was a South African citizen or held a South African permanent residence, that's another way of getting citizenship. Then another way is by adoption, if you're adopted by a South African, or by naturalization, that if you've stayed there for a long period of time. Usually countries have requirements for naturalization. You have to be of good character, some countries even, like, you have to earn a certain amount of money. I think China does that. You have to have a certain amount of money to show that you can take care of yourself and something like that. So let's proceed. So with the Boers, there's no doubt that whether they are South Africans or not, because looking at their history, in fact the name Boers translates to farmers in both Dutch and Afrikaans. So they have been in South Africa since the 1650s. or thereabouts. So the next issue would be, how did they get their properties? How did they get their farmlands? So in looking at that, excuse me. So I think this particular issue of how they got their farmland is even more important than citizenship, because whether you're a citizen or a foreigner, you can own property in most countries in the world. You can own land, farmland especially. There will be a special arrangement, and you can either buy, you can lease, you can rent, depending on whatever you want. So if a property was gotten illegally, or whether you're a citizen or you're not a citizen, then it can be taken, it can be reversed, ownership can be reversed back to whoever is supposed to own it. But then, before we go too far, land can be gotten through various ways around the world. The major ways of getting land are through purchase, through conquest, through long possession. And so, depending on where you are, according to history, how you can get land also depends on where you are. You can get through any of those means, depending on where you are. You have to make sure it's in line with laws of place. So according to history, in 1671, the Dutch company, I think it was Royal Dutch Company, which became Royal Dutch East India Company, purchased land from the native Khoi or Khoi, and that was in 1671. And in 1680s, the farmers, the workers who worked for the Dutch company and left the company, settled on the land that the Dutch company bought from the Khois. So the Dutch government, after a period of time, the government became at odds with each other. That's so those people who left the company became independent farmers. They got land through grants, they got land through grants. So they became farmers after they left the company, employment of the company, after their contract expired. So in 1680s, the same 1680s, some other people came as well. I think there was one story about some orphan girls who, I think from Holland. They came from to South Africa. Then there are also some French political refugees around the same period who came and also settled there as well. So after the 16th century, the colony and the company, that's the Dutch government, and the people who were settled there and who had left the employment of the company, became at odds, because the people saw that the company was no longer the company no longer had their best interests at heart, so they thought, and they were only interested in making profit. So there was misunderstanding between the two groups, and because of that, the people decided to leave the immediate area they were staying. They started what is called known as the Great Trek, and that was how they expanded their migration, their territory. But it's also important to note that the French people who came later, the girls and other people who came after those workers had settled outside of the company, were forced to assimilate, because they had to abandon their French lifestyle and had to adopt that of the Dutch in order for them to get any benefits from the Dutch company or the Dutch government who was in charge of the area at the time. So all this history is important for us to know where they are coming from, and where they are coming from and where they are going now, because it gives us a perspective. Most of the narrative that's there, I know a lot of people are going to call me names and stuff, coons and all the rest, but it's okay, because it's good for us to know where they are coming from and where we're going to. The narrative on YouTube is mainly that the lands were stolen, people were killed, this and that, but that's not entirely true, because from what I just made us understand now is that the land, the first immediate place they settled was actually bought, it was paid for, and then eventually they migrated out of those places and went further. And when they went further, they did not meet anybody until they met the Shogza. I think I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but I'm sorry for that. They met the Shogza, and they had the how do you call it, conflicts, and the Dutch government was like, they are not going to intervene, they are not going to give them security since they are leaving them and stuff like that. But eventually they sent people to like head them, to like be representatives of them in those places they had migrated to. So from all what we have seen, from all what I've said, there's nothing about people killing people to get land or anything. So let's move forward. So the story goes on. The company decided to retain power, and like I said, to compel, and they had something like an agreement that could compel the former workers to return back to work, and it affected. It was unjust. It was almost like a slave. Would I say slave contract or something like that? Because anyone, even people who did not work for them, allegedly people who even did not work for them, who were children of those who came in 1860s, were never in employment of the company, were also forced to go into employment of the company, which was not right. So they were fleeing oppression, and that's how they spread further than the first place they settled. So in order not to go too far or prolong this video, I'll just get to the important places the parts I deem, any place what the fuck. So in order not to stray too far, I'll just get to the places I deem so it's also important to note that those who migrated, they became mainly nomads, and they lived almost without law, or with very little law, and they were able to expel the officials from those companies who were put like administrators over them. And another thing to note of importance was that when Holland or the Dutch fell to France, the British came and took over Cape Town came to take over Cape Town for the Prince of Orange, and they had to fight the Boers twice, and at first they failed to do so, they lost, and the second time they were able to take it over. And those British settlers came, and during the 1790s, I think, to the 18th century, the population in that particular area was around 27,000 whites, 17,000 Khoikhoi, and the rest were slaves who were imported from Malaysia or something, and other imported blacks. So, long story short, the British was hated by everybody. The whites thought that they treated the Khoikhoi better, and they had apprenticeship contracts with the young Khois, and the contract was again like slavery. So by 1834, the slaves were freed. The Khoikhoi and whites were to have equal rights according to a treaty or something that they signed, and it ensured that they had equal rights. And another important thing is in this story is, according to a book I read, it was by Ransford Oliver. I think the title was Trek Boers. It's a really old book, and according to that book, it says something about the Boers cut their ties with Europe, cut all ties with Europe. So that's just an important thing to put forward there. So it means that place where they are now, which is South Africa, is like their only home. It's not like they have dual citizenship or which they maintained with Europe. I think the book was written in 1973, so that's how far back. So apart from all this history and all this, what we have just gone through now, it's important to know that some very key facts to note are that since 1600s, since the 16th century basically, they have been there. They got their lands through purchase and undisputed settlement over a very long period of time. So I think if the government wants to do anything, to move them out, I think they should compensate them. They should be compensated. Instead of seizing the land, why not like increase tax on farmers? Maybe you, like a certain group of people are disadvantaged and you want to elevate their status or something. I think the better option would be to tax certain people or to tax everybody, and then put things in place for those people who are disadvantaged, rather than seize the lands from professionals, people who their name means farmers, people who have been farming since they first got to where they are, and then you seize those lands and give to people who probably are not farmers, who maybe want to use the house for residential purpose, the farmland for residential purpose, or other things. So I think it's better to, even if you have to take the land from them, why not take a certain percentage, get a certain percentage of land, portion of land, and then assign to the new people you intend to give land. But before giving it to them, you train them, make sure they are good at farming, or they have the right equipment, the right training to succeed at farming, before chasing away or before heavily taxing them or doing anything that will put your agri sector in jeopardy. Because we have seen the same thing happen in places like Venezuela. We have seen the same thing happen in places like Zimbabwe, where the farmers left and there was food crisis basically. So what I would suggest is, like I said, tax them, get a certain percentage of land and give to those people who are disadvantaged or who you feel have no land, who are supposed to have land. Furthermore, you can, so get a percentage of land and give to them. And if you really want to fight injustice, look for those people who got those lands or who got property through injustice. Maybe people who were undeserving of them, or people who got them illegally, maybe through, if not because of this illegality, maybe something like apartheid or something, they would not have gotten such property or such land or such wealth. Those are the people you can take property from, you understand, and give to others who deserve them, or who have done something to deserve them. And I don't think it should be on the basis of skin color, tribe, ethnicity, or any of those. It should be people who are qualified. If those people are not qualified, get them qualified before assigning land to them, or before, you understand, so that you don't just put your country, your agricultural sector in jeopardy. So another thing that is worthy of note is speaking up against injustice. Because when I started the story, I made us understand that in the beginning, in the 1600s, both the Dutch, they had slaves, and the Dutch had black slaves, Malaysians or Malays as slaves, and nobody spoke against it. The Khois took money for land, and they were black, and they saw people with black slaves, and they did not speak against it, probably because they're not from our tribe or whatever, and they decided to overlook. And then, if we look further in history, the Boers did not speak enough against apartheid. People did not speak enough. South Africans did not speak enough uh, against xenophobic attacks towards Nigerians and other black Africans in South Africa. People did not speak enough against the killings that were going on. So it's just a vicious circle. It's not a new thing. It's just those people are, will I say, bloodthirsty or something. So it's just show me the next person to kill. It doesn't matter. Just give them a cause to rally behind. Tell them this person did this to you. That person is stealing this. That person is, just anything, and they are willing to rally behind that banner because you have not faced the problem from the roots. You have not faced the problem tackle the problem from the source. So they are only cutting the issues. The South Nigerians are selling drugs. Hello YouTube. Finally, if you've settled in a place for over 300 years, I see no reason why the land should be seized from them. I mean, they are indigenous of the place. They are no longer foreigners. 300 years is a lot of time. It's a long. I would also like to say that we should remember that the people who are being expelled today, the people who you are seizing their farmlands, who are being killed today, are not the same people that arrived South Africa in 1670. They are not the same people that owned slaves in 17th century and all that. So we should be fair. So, in conclusion, I think this is also a lesson for us to learn that whenever we see injustice, whether it affects us directly or indirectly, whether it does not concern us at all, whether it seems like we have nothing to gain, we should always speak up, because we never know who may be next tomorrow. We should always do good. So that's all. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the video. If there are things I missed out, I forgot to mention, or that you think are very important that I missed out because of time or because I could not go too deep, please leave a comment below and let me know. If you have questions to ask also, or opinions to put forward, you can ask in the comment section, and I may make a video about them later on, make a compilation and make a video and respond to them. Thank you very much.